Happy Sunday, everybody. I am looking forward to this day 7 of our Muse Mapping training. Today was a little bit later. It was a Sunday and had other stuff going on. But just to remind you what Muse Mapping is a program that I have developed. It's a system that helps folks on their creative journey. There are so many people I talk to who are either afraid to answer the call to the muse because they are stuck, or they think they don't have the talent, or they don't have the time, or whatever, or they're on a creative journey and they've got burnout, or they're uninspired, or they've hit a roadblock that they can't get past. Or maybe years ago they answered the call and they played an instrument or acted or sang in a song, sang in a group, or wrote a book, but they let that go in pursuit of other things, and they yearn for the feeling of doing it again. So Muse Mapping is a system that I've created that I'm thinking of a literal map, that with this system, you can create the map for your own creative journey that gets you past these obstacles, that helps you have a plan, that when you meet resistance, you have the toolkit to do it. The 6 steps are, because today I'm going to talk about the 6th step, but the first step is preparing for your journey, really digging down deep and finding out your why. The 2nd step is dealing with dealing with the blocks, obstacles, and beliefs in your path. The 3rd step is doing research and finding out where your community is, how to build your craft, and what channels there are for your work if you want to get it out there. The 4th step is drafting a plan. I know that most people start there, but I think that the work in the first 3 steps actually get you able to really understand what needs to go into a plan to do what you want to do. The 5th step is what to do when you deal with resistance. And the 6th step, which is today, is setting out on your joyful journey. So I have terms for all of these steps that sound a lot more like mapping. And if you go to musemapping.com, you can see them and you can learn more. If you go to my Facebook page or Instagram, IGTV, or my YouTube page for your ladders, you can also see the previous videos, so you can see what you've, the steps that you've missed if you haven't been here for those. And the system is created to work for you because the map that you're going to create is drafted by you with guidance from me, so that it works for you, because I think that's really important. We are often told, given a cookie cutter way of dealing with our creativity, and this is the way you get published, or this is the way you have a acting job, or this is the way you do X, Y, or Z. And in fact, there are many ways of doing many, many different things. And the first 5 steps of Muse Mapping are sort of, think of yourself in an inlet, and you're getting ready to go, and you're just preparing for the journey. And in the 6th step, you're setting sail. You're leaving, you're going out into the open sea. So some of the things that I talk about in the program are the fact that setting out on your joyful journey. First of all, let's talk about the word joy. To me, joy doesn't always mean happy, but it means deep satisfaction in doing what you do. So as I've mentioned before, I'm a traditionally published mystery writer. My 7th book came out in August. And the writing process is different than the author process, right? So there's a whole different mindset and tools that you need for those 2 things. But when I'm writing, it's joyful. It's not always easy. Sometimes it's hard. It's hard to find the time and things. But when I finally sit down and I start writing, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot. I love this. I love this, right? Holding the book in my hand is like a bonus, but the act of writing is what gives me the joy. When you're on a creative journey, the journey's the point, not the destination. You are embracing a lifelong apprenticeship. And while that, at some point you might become a master and start teaching as well, but you're still going to be an apprentice. That's part of the joy of a joyful journey. And also that there are twists and turns and other paths that may come up that you can also explore. So the reason I created Muse Mapping is because, in the last year since I started Your Ladders, and I started Your Ladders to help support artists with business skills. But, I would be sitting on a panel where I'd be appearing as an author. And I'll never forget one woman who said, my dream is to be where you are right now. And so after the talk, I talked to her, and, well, I don't have the talent, or I don't have the time, she just had all these reasons for not starting to write. But I could tell that she longed to. And I did what I could do to encourage her on that journey, right? Because the path of being creative is so important. And it doesn't mean you have to be great at anything. It doesn't mean that you have to, make a living at it. It doesn't mean anything else. But what it means is that you're embracing a joyful path. And that joyful path gives your life extra meaning. And that is the muse calling, and you being brave enough to answer. But again, within all of these classes, what I've been talking about is the fact that you're brave enough to answer doesn't mean that answering the muse's call is easy. And that's why I've created Muse Mapping, is to help you answer the call and draft your map. So on the joyful journey, I believe in setting audacious goals. And one of the things that I've done, if you've been on some of my other webinars, the goal setting for creatives was I talked about this, that you start from your big artistic dreams and you get down to the daily tasks that you do to reach that dream. It's an inverted triangle, but there's a way that you can set out these audacious goals and create the path. Now, the path forward, you may do all the things that you think, well, this is going to get me there, and then it might get you somewhere else. Another path may open up, another journey may beckon. And that's the beauty of all this, right? That it's not, you expect the unexpected by being open to whatever the calling is. So, one of the things that I thought I'd talk, because in every one of these mini trainings I've given people something to think about, is with even the mini trainings, but certainly if you join me in Muse Mapping, and Muse Mapping starts on November 18th, and it's an 8-week program, so it'll get you through the new year with support, so the 2020 and beyond will be your time to set off on this joyful journey. But think about where you want to be 6 months from now. We can think further ahead, but think about where you want to be 6 months from now, and use the goal setting that's realistic. You can say, I want to audition for a show, but look back on all the Muse Mapping steps we talked about. Where's your craft? How confident are you in the monologues that you've developed? Have you gone coached on that? How comfortable are you in reaching out? What's your community like? Have you developed a network of people who can offer you support? That's part of the Muse Mapping strategy. So that can be your dream, is to do what you want to do in 6 months, but step back and make sure that you're taking care of yourself on this creative journey. You need to nurture yourself. You need to take care of your muse. You need to take care of yourself. You need to not be discouraged when the blocks come in your way or when you meet resistance, but develop the tools to get past them, to navigate around them, to acknowledge them, and then to keep going, because it's the creative journey that's the point. It's embracing this part of you, right? And this calling that is the point, and that makes life so much richer and so much more fun. So I'm going to encourage you all to sit down with a piece of paper now and say, what would you like to do in 6 months that's creative? Is it that you want to bake a beautiful cake, like on the Great British Baking Show? Is it that you want to play an instrument? Is that you want to remember how to play an instrument, or you want to find a group to play with? What are your dreams? And you don't have to show them to anyone. You don't have to do anything with them, but just what are your dreams? And then look back on these last videos that I've been doing all week, and how can you map your way there? And if you want the extra support, join me with Muse Mapping, which, as I said, starts a week from tomorrow. I'm really excited. We'll run you through the very beginning of the new year, and we'll help launch your journey. So those are my Sunday thoughts. I'm going to do one more Muse Mapping mini training tomorrow at 1 o'clock on Instagram Live and on Facebook Live. I hope to see you there. In the meanwhile, thanks for joining me today. Good luck on your creative journey, and go for it, and let me know what I can do to help support you on that journey. Thanks so much. Bye now.